DSW1 has been successfully set up as a DHCP server, and we can verify this in the running config by typing in show run pipe to section DHCP, and we can see the configuration parameters that we specified. We specified that the pool is going to be VLAN 10 underscore pool, that's its name. We're handing out addresses for the network 10.110/26. Therefore, our range of addresses are 10.110 through 10.163, but you can't hand out the first address because it's the subnet ID, so 10.110 is thrown out. And you can't hand out the very last address, which is 10.163, because that's the broadcast address, so that's thrown out as well. Everything else in between from 10.111 through 10.162 is fair game. However, we do have excluded addresses from this particular pool, and it is 10.110 through 10.130, so we won't be handing out those addresses within this particular pool. We can see here from the configurations that the default router is going to be given out as 10.111, and that's also the IP address associated with interface VLAN 10 on DSW1, so it is the default gateway. This DHCP server will be handing out these two IP addresses for the DNS servers, which are DNS1 and DNS2 and VLAN 200. It's going to be identifying the domain name as well, which is switch.local, and then also handing out option 150. Do you remember what option 150 is? Do you remember what it's for? It's to hand out an IP address to the Cisco IP phones that they can use to contact a TFTP server to get their configuration information. So option 150 says, use 10.1.200.52 to get your configuration information. This is for Cisco IP phones. And we can see our lease duration as well. If we want to examine and verify our DHCP configuration even further, we can type in show IP DHCP pool. And we can examine the pool and see what's going on. The pool name is VLAN 10 underscore pool that we have set up. So if we had more than one pool, we would have them all listed here in this output. Total addresses we can give out is 62. 62 can't hand out 10.110 and can't hand out 10.11.63, so there's 62 addresses in between. We've only leased out one address so far, and 30 of those 62 addresses are going to be excluded. So the IP address range is listed down below here as 10.111 through 10.162, but 30 of them are excluded, and as we saw, those 30 are listed right here. Wait a second, that's 31, inclusive of 0. That's what that is. 0 is not considered as an address that can be handed out, so even though we specified 10.110 as an excluded address, down here it's saying, well, we're just excluding 30 because that doesn't count. We wouldn't be handing that out anyways. But I want to see who has the lease. How can we do that? We can use the show IP DHCP binding command to verify who has received an IP address from this DHCP server. And we can see from this example that it's the address 10.1.134 from the pool has been given out to the device with this particular client ID. And this client ID is a combination of the client's MAC address as well as this identifier at the beginning. So this client has a MAC address that ends in 06D6. Who is that in our topology? Take a good look at that. Oh yes, it's PC1. So PC1 has received 10.1.134. Let's go to PC1 and verify that. IP config on PC1. Scroll up. There it is right there. 10.1.134. Also received the domain name of switch.local. Excellent. So it worked. But how do we verify the DNS information? And we can see the default gateway there, but I want to make sure that I actually receive that DNS information as well. What's the command for that IP config? Yes, switch all. Switch all. So let's remove our topology out of the way. And we can see if we scroll up that, there we go, 10.1.200.50, 10.1.200.51, the default gateway, the DHCP server's IP address is 10.1.1.1, can verify the lease, when it expires, the IP address that was handed out, the subnet mask, and yeah, look at that, DHCP is enabled as well. Excellent. So, a few different commands we can use for verification purposes. As we saw, you can look at the running config, show IP DHCP pool, show IP DHCP binding, and then on the client, don't forget, you have the IP config and IP config switch all commands.